Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. It's Patricia Hanbidge, also known as Patty Plant, and your horticulturist. So today's topic on Grow is going to be about lifting those summer flowering bulbs. I have been talking about doing this for at least a month. Now it's well into October, and as you can see, it's a little chilly out, so I'm a little more bundled up, but you know what? It's still great to be out in the garden doing some work because it's cooler, so you can work harder and you don't break a sweat. So anyway, folks, whenever you're storing anything from the garden, really important to ensure that you are storing only the best quality of products. So it doesn't matter if it's potatoes or squash or whatever it is. Today it's summer flowering bulbs. We're lifting them because they are not able to survive the winter temperatures. So it's a little later than it normally is where I live to lift these summer flowering bulbs because I've been waiting patiently for them to kind of get some frost and die down. Well into October, we finally got some -4, -5, -6 temperatures overnight, which has allowed some of the foliage to die back. So as you see, this was a beautiful Oriental Lily, and I have carefully lifted it from the soil, and you can see the bulb is there and it's in nice shape. Now it's important to prepare whatever it is that's going into storage. So for anything that we're lifting, we're going to let it cure or rest for a period of time in an area that is airy, out of direct sunlight, so some of this soil can get falling off, and we can actually just store the bulb instead of a big clump. So this was an Oriental Lily. Acid Anthra is another lily that can be lifted and stored because it is a tender summer flowering bulb. And these are both true bulbs, so they should be lifted. And hey, sorry, that's Zeus. Zeus is our Yorkie puppy, and if he comes over here, I'll show you. He's just beautiful. But at any rate, Oriental lilies and Acid Anthra should be stored at about 35 or 40 degrees Fahrenheit, or 1.5 to 5 degrees Celsius. And I like to store my bulbs in peat moss or vermiculite, and you want to have it slightly damp so that the bulb doesn't desiccate. You don't want to have it too soggy because of course then it's not going to store very well either. I also lifted some canna lilies. So look at this. Look at this growth. So cannas are and callas are stored quite similarly, and again I've carefully lifted this out of the soil, and these are rhizomes, so they need a little bit different storage. They need probably about 10 degrees Celsius or 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and they should be stored, you know, in peat moss or vermiculite as well. So as you can see, this was the foliage, and it's actually still in, you know, pretty good condition in spite of the cool temperatures. And you know, it's really quite amazing because plants have this ability to acclimatize themselves to whatever the climate is, and even when those temperatures dip down, they still seem to be able to manage to, you know, continue to grow and thrive. So I've also lifted begonias. Begonias are a tuberous root, which just means it's a storage organ that's also the root. And they should be stored at about the same temperatures as cannas and callas. So 50 degrees Fahrenheit or about 10 degrees centigrade. I've lifted the dahlias because they tended to dry down and freeze down a little bit quicker. And ideally, you want to wait until that foliage on top kind of dies down and kind of stops the growth, because the plants go through a lot of different techniques that allow them to put all that energy that they've been using to live down into the root tissue, which then allows your storage organ, whether it's a bulb or a rhizome or whatever it is, to be in really good shape and have the energy to grow next year into all its beauty as well. So dahlias, they're a tuberous root, and they should be stored around the same temperature, 40 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, 4.5 or 5 degrees to 10 degrees Celsius. And they want to be in a little bit higher humidity than some of the other bulbs because they tend to desiccate quite quickly. Glads also, I have lifted my glads already as well, and they should be stored a little bit cooler if possible, 35 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and they need to be cured for a good 2 weeks or so before they can actually store well. So, you know, when you're picking anything, any kind of plant, it actually needs to go through a lot of different internal processes in order for it to store in really good shape. So, you know, there's always optimal temperatures and optimal humidities to store plants at, or bulbs, corms, tubers, all those kind of things. But if you haven't got exactly those conditions, try to get as close as possible. Over the winter, once your bulbs are cured and ready to put to bed, so to speak, important to check them periodically because you don't want them to dry out. If they do become less thrifty or they look like they're not doing so well, you know, you can take some steps to ensure that they make it through the winter in good shape. Quite often, my Cannas and Callas all actually bring out of storage by about March, so that by the time they go outside here in May, they're actually quite large and I can enjoy that color for a longer period of time. So thank you for joining me once again, all about lifting summer flowering bulbs. I hope that wherever you are, you're doing well, you're happy, you're staying safe, and most definitely you're growing. So thank you. If you like what's on my YouTube channel Grow, please subscribe and do drop me a line and let me know how you're doing in your garden. Thanks a lot, folks. We'll see you next time. Bye now.